I am Devin Burgess, unfortunately for you, your host of Two Shots In Podcast. I'm here with Frank King and sweet Lou Frost. Lou, how would you describe yourself to our listeners?
That's a long, complicated question. I am currently a law enforcement officer in the New Orleans metropolitan area, and I've been so for about 20 years. I've also worked on numerous tactical teams, as well as been employed by certain contract companies for the government.
Okay, so currently, if we saw you at work, where would we see you most predominantly?
I work in an investigative section, predominantly.
Okay, so the reason that I wanted to get you in here, and I haven't seen you in a while too, so
It's been a while.
It's good to see you. Is mainly brought on by what had just happened at the Capitol building and what that means for 2020. For me, you, everybody else who's a gun lover, what do you see happening as an immediate result after Biden gets in office, if anything?
Man, I don't think, honestly, we can answer that question with any degree of intelligence. Only because I don't think we have a clue what that really means. I don't know that we know all the facts. I think, by and large, any information we're getting from either side or any entity we're obtaining it from has been so misconstrued or slanted towards whatever side they're speaking to you from that I don't think any of it's viable enough to make a real intellectual decision off of any of it.
What do you think?
See, I think you're going to have the people that are going to blow their mind regardless. You're going to have the idiots out there that do whatever they want.
So I'm more terrified of what is going to happen to our Second Amendment and First Amendment rights and how they would go about knocking that tree down.
Well, I mean, so if you're going to talk about, just the First Amendment stuff, that's easy stuff to look at. When you start talking about obviously what occurred within the last, 48 hours with what most are going to say is the censoring of the pro 2A community or the right-wing conservative community with the taking down of certain websites, the attacks on PayPal of Second Amendment businesses, the attacks by
They took the president off of Facebook and Instagram.
And Twitter.
Well, they took down ARFCOM yesterday.
Is that insane?
They took down AR15.com. A lot of...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
Apparently they filed, so I was told, I haven't verified any of this, but so I was told that Amazon took down AR15, or GoDaddy, maybe it was GoDaddy, took down AR15.com as their hosting company, and they're trying to file some antitrust lawsuit against either Amazon or GoDaddy.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about Amazon. Amazon owns, they have AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, is across most of the United States. And they control most of the web across the entire United States.
So you've got all that happened yesterday. I mean, far be it, let's not even look at just the Facebook and Twitter stuff, but because that's a huge package. But I'll tell you my personal feelings on that. It's very simple. If you don't like what they're doing, stop supporting their businesses. If you have a problem with Facebook's doing, delete your Facebook profile. You don't need it. It's not part of who you are.
Right.
I mean, I deleted mine simply because I don't believe that I want my dollars, whatever dollars I generate for Facebook, because it's driven by advertising.
And they sell all your information.
Well, that too. But I mean, just strictly look at the advertising dollar. They're going to say that they have 47 billion subscribers or whatever the number is. Well, I'm going to be 46. They're going to be 46 billion and 999 million now because I'm out.
Right.
I'm not going to let them generate income off of things that I disagree with, and I'm not going to damn sure go on there and voice my opinion about the things that I don't like that they're doing, because then all I'm doing is driving additional traffic to that mechanism to allow them to have more money to fight against things that I disbelieve in.
So this podcast, which is still relatively new, is brought to you by Gun Store, Jefferson Gun Outlet, and Jefferson Indoor Range, and the Shooters Club, which is where I first met you.
Yep.
We do classes. We're going to get into that in a minute. One of the nicest and most respect-commanding people I've ever met, and you've earned it by far. But you're also in the world of law enforcement where if they, let's say this goes really sideways, right? And they say in 2 years from now, because I don't think it'll be in a week, but in 2 years from now, they've deplatformed all the conservatives. We're the enemy for whatever reason they give, and they want to start disarming the public. How do you see that? If that goes on paper, as that's the plan, how do you see that actually happening?
I've been asked this question for the better part of probably 10 years now.
See, I've never really been worried about it. But
No,
right
I mean,
now I'm kind of worried about it.
So for 20 years, I've been in this business. Both the business that I'm in as far as firearms and firearms training, and then law enforcement and the other stuff. And people have asked me that question for 20 years. Well, what are you going to do if they ban our guns? Man, I don't know what the mechanism is that they're going to have to come get your guns. I mean, most of the people that I know in law enforcement, and most of the people that I know who work for the federal government in a law enforcement capacity, I don't think that they're going to show up to come get your guns.
They're all our friends.
Yeah, well, it's not even that they're your friends.
Right.
Take friendship away from them.
That was the wrong way to say it.
No,
They're
but I mean,
all members of a community that supports
even the ones
same
who
thing.
aren't, look, don't misunderstand it. Most cops, most law enforcement, most military guys are not gun people. They have guns as a mechanism of their job. I mean, one of the most skilled operators I've ever worked with, man, he couldn't tell you the difference between a Colt M4 and HK M4, but you know what? He can shoot them both really well. He's not a gun guy, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't believe in the same things that we believe in as far as the Constitution of the United States. But even on top of that, from just a sheer enforcement standpoint, I can't imagine a law enforcement entity saying, all right, we're going to go force a breach on somebody's house and endanger our 30 or 40 man team. And I mean, in the parish or the place that we work, what is there in and around New Orleans? There's probably 3 million people, give or take a little bit. So out of that, let's just say 40% are gun owners, which is probably a woefully low estimate. So that leaves us about, 1 million people who own guns? I can't imagine trying to go serve a search warrant on 1 million plus residences. Enforcing the issue. I don't know what the mechanism is. I mean, you do the whole voluntarily turn your stuff in, and then we'll start maybe doing that.
Well, and that's just the ones you have records of purchases. Because private sales, there's no record of that. There's no.
Agreed. I could sell you a bike, or I could sell you a 9mm. I mean, both are equally transferable in this state.
Right.
So no, and that's to my point. Like, I don't know what the mechanism is to even remotely get close to saying, all right, well, the government's coming to get your guns. Okay, who's coming? Mm-hmm. I'm not even doing it from the the parody of the Antifa crowd or what we see stereotypically on TV. I'm saying, like, where I've worked and the people I've worked with, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure there might be some, but if I've worked with 1,000 people in my life, it's 990 of them. They ain't coming. Mm-hmm. They're going to do whatever they're supposed to. Man, I've got how many years in, and at some point in time, the law averages against you. You've got that many people right now. I mean, in my entire life, living the life that I've lived and seeing the things I've seen, I would have never have thought that no matter which side it was, I could have never imagined a group of Americans storming the Capitol building.
Like, what'd you think about that? What'd you see from a law enforcement standpoint? They were just kind of unmanned, huh?
Man, that's one of those, I refuse to Monday morning quarterback it because, again, the media controlled what we saw because they controlled what footage actually got released. So I don't know. Right. I've seen some videos where they claim they let them in. I've seen other videos where they were claiming that people got pushed down. I mean, what we do know is one person died, one protester died, and one law enforcement officer died. Both of those are tragic. But from
actually, I think there were 3 protesters that died. 2 were from like stress or something like, or they.
Oh, okay. I only saw the one that got shot.
After the fact, yeah. The Air Force veteran is the one that got shot.
That's the one I knew about. I didn't know what the other was. So I mean, any loss of life is tragic. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's all very tragic. But I've never would have thought in all of my life that I would see a group of Americans, no matter which side they were on. I mean, because I've heard, some people say, oh, it's Antifa parading as pro-Trump, and then I've heard, some people say it's pro-Trump. I don't know.
Well, they had even today something came out where they said one of the police officers who was part of the, like stopping people, committed suicide.
Yeah, I did see that.
What, today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I disagree with the news. Like, they would never show the cop, because I think the one that they show where the cop's getting crushed, in the door, I think that's the cop that died. And they would never show that on the opposite side. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we never saw it from when did the protest start? March, April, somewhere around there. I mean, I never saw a single video of anything tragic happen to a policeman.
Exactly.
I mean, I did see them throwing some rocks at some guys in St. Louis, but they never talked about, the policemen who lost their eyes as a result of that, or got hit in the head with large bricks. I mean, we didn't discuss any of that. But again, that goes back to what I said at the beginning, is that, that's the reason you can't believe no matter either side. There's so much disinformation floating around and so much controlling of what I want you to believe. I'm trying to control the narrative so bad that I can't just give you the information and let you make your own decision as a freeborn American. I've got to control the narrative so I can now twist you into believing what I want you to believe.
Well, just like all the protesters at the Capitol that stormed the Capitol, they're all domestic terrorists now. That's what the news keeps saying. They're all
well, I mean, again, that's the problem with the narrative,
right?
I mean, nobody else was a domestic terrorist from
exactly. That's
and look,
exactly.
I've had this belief since I became a policeman, and since my dad taught it to me at a very young age. Your rights stop where mine start, and that transcends political belief. That transcends, you maybe having different political beliefs than I do, or having different religious beliefs. But it's very simple. Your rights stop where mine start.
Nowadays, with this cancel culture that they have,
that's the craziest part of it.
I want you to lose your job. I want you to lose your family, anything you have that you possess. I want you to lose it all because you disagree with me.
No, I agree. And look, there's a lot of that out there. But what I'm saying is, like, that's how I've kind of lived my life, is just simply like, your rights stop where mine start,
right,
and vice versa. So if it's going to be good for one, it has to be good for the other. If we're going to say that they're domestic terrorists, and do I think it was right? No, I don't think anybody should storm the Capitol and put people who were simply doing the job that they're paid to do, which is protect the building, in harm's way.
Right.
Especially other Americans, Now, do I think they had a right to protest? Absolutely. Do I think every protest that I have worked that has been lawful was correct? Absolutely. Whether I agreed with their beliefs or not, that is a different discussion. But they have the right to protest. But you have the right to, we're given that right. But then you just can't on the other side say, well, I don't agree with your right to protest, so I'm going to take you off of this particular mechanism to voice your opinion. And if you're going to tell me that, because that business is allowed to do whatever it wants because it's its own individual business, then my next question is, well, now can I not sell to you because you have a different political belief than I do, or you have a different belief structure, or whatever the next differentiation is?
Well, PayPal for years now has restricted gun sales.
They're very anti-gun.
Right, weapons of any kind, things like that. They've actually seized
all of those
funds.
Platforms.
So, like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Fieldcraft Survival. Mike Glover.
Right.
He did a podcast.
He lost like $17,000 or $170,000.
He had done a fundraiser for insert whatever fundraiser it was for, fallen, special operations group or whatever it was.
Right.
And he had $170K in his PayPal, and they seized it. Well, I don't know if you remember the training company a couple of years ago that used to book all the really big names. I think it was like Allied or Ally. They had the same thing. They'd book like Pat McNamara and Kyle Lamb and all those guys that travel around and just get huge premiums for doing the training. And Alias, that's the name of it, Alias. And they froze their bank account and took it, and they never gave it back. And it literally put the company under because apparently somewhere way down in the fine print, it said that, if you were a firearms related business that, I don't know how you can do that, but.
Yeah, that's the stuff that really scares me, is the censorship and deplatforming that goes on. Because pretty soon there's going to be none of us left and only one side being heard, and then that's when things spiral out of control.
But here's at least my view on it, and I agree. Like both sides need a voice. Everybody needs a voice. Everybody has freedom of speech. We're granted that, But not everybody has the freedom to tweet because Twitter's a private business. But then the question then becomes is, what are we, what are you, what am I prepared to do about that lack of mechanism? So you have a podcast. It's something. We have to have a mechanism to host that podcast. I was looking around the other day because, like I said, I deleted my Facebook. There's Parler, and you can still get the Parler on the internet. Mm-hmm. You can't use the app, but you know what? An app is not necessary. You can still use Parler. There was Go Duck, or I think DuckDuckGo, or
Parler's like a conservative Facebook, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Very like MeWe is I guess a conservative version of like Twitter or Instagram. I'm not really that technologically savvy, but I mean, you have smaller, lesser known platforms that very simply, if 70 million Americans, I think that's roughly what Trump got, right? 70 some odd million, simply up and pull their support from these businesses, well, then then they'll feel the economic impact.
You have kids, huh?
Yeah, I have one.
She's 4 now, huh?
7.
God damn.
You're getting
7?
old, dude. You're
Holy
getting really
shit.
old.
I remember when she was born. That was
7 years ago.
Jesus
Actually, 7
Christ.
years ago plus now.
I just had a daughter. She's 9 months old, going on 10 months old.
Dude, it's the best ride of your life.
Yeah, if you don't enjoy sleep, it's awesome.
Nope. First 18 months are rough. I will tell anybody that. I mean, look, the first 18 to 24 months were rough.
I don't know if I got another year and a half in me.
But when they get to where they can walk and talk, and I mean, like since my daughter made about 3, man, it's been the best ride of my life.
That's what I'm excited. But are you?
I mean, it is just amazing.
Are you scared for? Do you think in your lifetime you will see a civil unrest that trumps anything? Maybe not. I think
we've already seen it. We've already seen it this year. I mean,
I don't think it has a long way. I think it has the possibility of going so much.
Oh yeah, I
deeper.
Well, you've seen it from the minority side. You've seen the liberal side, which is not the majority.
Well, so I mean, no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the question has always been, to what end is somebody willing to go to achieve their objective? And the one thing I'll say that conservatives have always lacked is organization. Whereas if you look at the left or the liberals or the things we've seen between March and currently, let's just say, you have seen a fairly organized system of protests and civil unrest. That thing at the Capitol didn't look incredibly organized. I mean, it looked like a piecemeal hodgepodge, like we were going to Bad News Bears.
Somebody left the gate open. That's what it seemed like.
No,
and everybody just rushed through.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, we can, look, the door's open. We can walk in here.
Right.
Now, I don't know what happened, but my point is that the civil unrest is highly possible, but it's always been highly possible. Now, the country is so diametrically opposed now that would I be shocked? No. Have I, for the last 20 plus years, carried a gun everywhere I went? Uh-huh. Do I still carry a gun everywhere I go?
What do you carry? What kind of gun do you carry?
That depends. It's like kind of ask me what kind of shoes I wear.
That's good, yeah. Fair enough. So you're the first guest that has brought that up. Yeah, I get it. If you got one gun to go to. No, if you had one, you could only wear one if you could only carry one.
I could only wear one gun for the rest of my life. That's like asking me if I can only eat one meal for the rest of my life.
That's a tough one.
For
me, it depends on what I'm wearing, depends on where I'm going, depends on...
So my answer would probably be...
Most of the people that listen don't probably... They might not own a gun. Hopefully they do. They might not carry it everywhere.
So I carry a gun every day of my life. But if you told me I had to get rid of everything I owned and only go to one, my answer would probably surprise a lot of people. I would probably tell you, since I bought it, the primary gun that I carry 90 to 95% of the time is
High Point?
Larson.
Larson?
Yeah. Every now and then I carry a Charter Arms 38 Special.
You like Glock, don't you?
I do. I like Glock. Look, I've got a lot of respect for Glock. I've got a lot of years behind Glock. But I would, if you're pigeonholing me into that one gun, I'm going to tell you my answer is probably going to be a 2011 Staccato C2.
Okay, that's a badass gun. You're not afraid of taking somebody out with that thing and having it confiscated? I'll have to jump off the roof if they took it.
You told me I had one gun and I had to carry it the rest of my life. So
You're right. That's like a $4,000 gun, isn't it?
I don't know. Dude, you sell guns for a living. I don't know.
Hey, that's above my pay grade. I just filed the invoices. I think they're like $3 or $4 grand.
I think the Staccatos are somewhere in the $2,500 neighborhood. Yeah, they're nice.
That's a nice.
You know, it's probably the best production gun I've ever owned. And I know that they're not technically true production guns, but I've had it since whenever they came out. I got one of the very early models from a friend who works for them. And
was it 2011?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's okay. What you got, Paul? Let me hear it.
Ginger.
Ginger says, check your phone.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, look, I'm gonna lead you into this one. So, do you think there's gonna be more armed protests across the country before or during the inauguration?
There's a big one on the 12th.
I mean, based on what happens on the 12th, I didn't even read that.
They said that they're trying to get, or it's been all over the news that they're trying to say.
The FBI bulletin?
Yeah.
I was actually fixing to go there. You know, I mean, I just saw where the FBI put out that bulletin where apparently there's information that in all 50 states they're going to rush all 50 capitals.
Armed protest.
Well, I mean, but look, every protest we've pretty much had, or I'll be very specific. The protests that I have been privy to having knowledge of, all of them have had some degree of, some person there was armed. So if you're telling me that a simply one armed person makes an armed protest, well, man, they've almost all been armed protests. But I mean, if you look at the number of protests we had versus the amount of shots fired, it's been very low.
Right.
You know, I mean, but again, it doesn't take much to change nothing into something.
Right. That's my point.
Look
I
at
think
Kyle Rittenhouse. Look at him.
No, I mean, you look at that one. You look at the video that was surfacing all around, I think it was middle of the summer. I think it was Indianapolis. Maybe it wasn't. The white pickup truck that pulls up to the intersection of the overpass, and there's the group of people in the middle of the street. One dude like semi starts to raise up his long gun, and I'm like, oh, this is going to, and he turns around and backs out, and I'm like, look, that was a wise decision.
absolutely.
I mean, could he have driven over him? Yes, absolutely.
Well, it's like the Air Force guy who shot the guy with the AK-47.
No, I mean, but this is what I tell all my students, and this is the truth. The only fight you're guaranteed to win is the one you don't have. And, man, it's better to not have a fight.
Man, I'm so terrified of that, though. You know, if I'm driving with my 9-month-old daughter.
But it's like, I always tell people, like, leave yourself an out. If it's possible, leave yourself an out. Always, I mean, look, just because you have a gun, the last thing you should ever want to do is use it.
Absolutely.
Just because you have a car, the last thing you ever want to do is use it. You know, you want to always leave yourself an out.
Terrifies the shit out of me,
Even when I
man.
stop at a red light, I'm like a car length behind the car in front of me.
Absolutely.
Like I don't pull all the way up to their bumper anymore.
Dude, you have to.
I'm like I'm ready to jet off onto the median.
And I mean, like, you see people all the time, they don't ever leave themselves an out. And I mean, when I say leave yourself an out, I mean, it's not just, you know, don't pull up to the car in front of you. It's when you pull up to that red light, can you go right? Can you go left? What direction can you go if things go from not good or from good to not good? You know, can you make a right down a street? And then the next thing is, do you know what neighborhood you're in? Do you have an alternate route plan? I mean,
right.
Basic things that we learned over the course of our lives.
You don't have time to pull up Google Maps.
Yeah. Like, the last thing you want to do is, you know, if you're on, I don't know, let's just say you're driving through New Orleans, the last thing you want to do is take a right onto certain streets because you could end up from being in a really nice neighborhood to being in a really bad neighborhood.
Quick.
Yep. And then, you know, if things are bad, you probably don't want to be in a bad neighborhood.
Yep.
You know, and it's just basic stuff, man.
All right, so the rate that we're going, new listeners or people that are new to the gun culture, they got $1,000 in the bank, maybe a little more, and they want to buy some guns. What do you recommend that they buy?
Ooh, that's my easy answer. If you're going to tell me that you can only buy one gun,
or call it two, just because we're feeling.
you told me
generous.
$1,000.
Wait, $1,000?
Well, you've got that's a down payment for one right now.
I mean,
let's
look,
say you can buy one, maybe two guns.
You got to buy ammo for it.
No, I was going to do my next thing. I mean,
that gun's gonna be on layaway for the next 6 fucking.
So I mean, the answer is real simple. I tell people this: if you can only buy one gun, or you're limited on your budget, and you're looking to start with a pistol, Glock 19 is by far the standard. Like, that is my go-to, because everything else requires a lot of customization. I mean, a Glock 19, change the sights, or order one with factory Glock 9 sights and be done with it.
Fuck, marry, kill. AK-47, M4 Glock 19.
Yes. I'll take them all.
You gotta kill one, and you gotta bang one, and you gotta marry one.
Oh, that's easy. I'll marry the M4 because it'll do everything.
Good answer.
I don't really know how you fornicate with an AK-47,
It's
but
possible.
I mean,
I've had lonely nights.
I mean, I'm not really sure how that one works out, but I mean, if I get to keep it, I'm taking the AK.
I like an AK.
I mean, you look, rifles are always better than pistols. So,
A handgun's good to fight your way to something bigger.
I mean, general rule, yeah.
So now if they want a long gun, what do you point them to?
A reliable M4.
Okay.
I think, look, military rifles were designed for the lowest common denominator. The AK-47, it's a great platform. It's very utilitarian, but I think an M4 is a slightly better platform, and I think we've improved it enough to make it reliable enough that I prefer it to the AK. Look, there's nothing wrong with an AK. I like an AK just fine. I teach AK-specific courses. But if you're telling me that for the lowest common denominator, somebody's going to spend very little time learning the platform, and AR is a far more intrinsically intuitive platform.
I agree. All right, so we're gonna plug a little bit. What outside of your law enforcement employment, what do you teach?
So I and my business partners own Phobos Solutions, which is a firearms training and consulting company. We originally started the company to do probably things that we're going to do more in 2020 than we've done in quite
I should have called. Isn't Nick?
Yeah.
I should have. Man, you
20
should. I should have. You should have
2021.
told me Nick.
Yeah, oh, sorry, 2021. Thanks, bro. I'm a year behind.
You should have told me Nick. I should have asked Nick. I was stupid.
That's okay. You can have him on separately. He's equally as entertaining.
Okay, we'll have him on next time.
There you go. So we own Phobos Solutions, which is a firearms training and consulting company. We do a lot of firearms training for new shooters. I mean, we teach children as young as, and I always hate to say, put a specific age on it, but generally speaking, the youngest I'm comfortable teaching is 10.
10. That's the same thing here.
Yeah, I mean, but I have taught some that are younger. All depends on maturity. I've taught my daughter to shoot. I've taught Nick's daughter to shoot. I've taught a couple of other friends' kids to shoot. And that's really rewarding. We're seeing a lot of females. Believe it or not,
We're seeing a lot of females.
We're seeing a lot of females who are interested in not just getting their concealed carry permits, because, I mean, look, we teach it, but let's be honest about the concealed carry portion, at least in the state of Louisiana. It is very low-level requirements. I mean, it's
basic laws and stuff.
It's
telling me.
It's beyond the point of even really, like, I tell people all the time, I'm almost setting you up for failure.
Right.
And I don't mean that as a knock on any of the programs, but the bottom line is you're required to teach so many hours doing each individual topic. So by the time it gets to the shooting package, I'm like, all right, let's see. What can we really teach you with what's left?
When you got way too many people that are, hey,
it's like puppy mills.
I've never shot a gun before. I'm going for my concealed carry tomorrow.
Well, then you have a lot of guys that are doing the puppy mill thing. All right, well, we're going to run 47 people through this class in 9 hours.
Right. Just to make the money.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you have to think about what you're doing to those people. Like, are you really setting them up for success? Because it's like a parachute. If you ever need a firearm and you don't have one or you don't know how to use it, you'll probably never need anything else again.
Well, and you got these websites that are saying, hey, we'll give you your
really
concealed
sad,
carry permit.
They just scam all those people.
Right, because they give them an out-of-state
Yeah, they give one from
permit.
Florida.
Right.
Florida's famous for doing that.
And they can't use it if they're resident here in Louisiana.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's...
That's actually really sad because a lot of the lower level income people come in and ask us how to fix this or get their money back, and they just screw them.
Yeah, there ain't no getting your money back,
Right.
pal.
So anybody listening here, Phobos Solutions, what's your website?
Phobos, PHOBOS Solutions.com.
That mean anything in German or?
No, it's so Nick thought of this. It's Phobos is the Greek god of fear.
Okay.
So loosely translated, we are fear solutions.
Nice.
Kind of our catch line is conquering the fear within. So one of the biggest problems you have with people when you deal with high threat, high stress situations is conquering that inner fear. When your brain gets to moving too fast, when things start happening really fast, it's all about kind of centering yourself and kind of conquering that inner fear so you can do the things you need to do in order to survive that confrontation.
You worried about anything on the horizon?
I'm worried about everything. I mean, I'm not even trying to give you a broad strokes answer. I mean, the truth.
I am too.
I mean,
I'm actually
my
really
biggest
scared about whatever's about to happen.
So everybody, and I mean, a lot of my friends, most of my people.
Also, it's your job too, but man.
No, it's your livelihood. I mean, and that actually leads me into exactly what I'm talking about. What concerns me greater than any of this is all the long-term economic impact we can look at from this whole COVID event, this whole pumping of stimulus dollars, because the reality is a lot of this money, at least in my understanding, is like artificial. It's so look, people are way smarter than me. I've got a couple of college degrees. That doesn't make me the smartest man in any room, but it means I sat in a room and listened and learned and took some tests once. But talking to guys who are way smarter than me, we are on the verge of hyperinflation and things like that. I mean, so look, I don't know what you get done. Now they have the House and the Senate and the presidency. So, I mean, there's really nothing to put there, another, to balance these things out. But you never know. I mean, some people may cross the aisle on some issues, some may not. You don't know. I mean, we've been through this before, so we'll go through it again and we'll ride this till we can't. And I mean, but the reality is, my biggest concern is, what kind of economy are we leaving for our children and grandchildren? Mm-hmm. Because this is not something that you can self-correct in 4 years. I mean...
Well, especially if he starts reversing things like the fossil fuel stuff and all that kind of, that's providing jobs for people.
Well, the fracking things, the fossil fuel things. Yeah. And I mean, it's not even, to me, it's not even stuff that's that complicated. We've got interest rates at pretty much an all-time low. So, I tell all my friends, if you're looking to buy some big-ticket items, you better go get them. Mm-hmm. Because we could very quickly be back to, the Carter era interest rates.
Right, like a 10, 15%.
Yeah, like 15, 20, 25. I mean, you're going to be looking like credit card interest rates to buy a car.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean, if you're smart, you don't keep a credit card balance because that's just... I mean, dude, I'll loan you money at 25%. I mean, that's insane amounts of money. But that's what I think you're going to be looking at in probably 5 to 7 years to buy anything. You're looking at mortgages are going to be 10 or 12%. I think your home loans, your auto loans, your toy money is going to be 25, 30%.
Yeah, which is going to cause everything to tank.
Well, then you're going to end up with what we were. What is it like when 2000-ish? When you saw the first batch of 0% interest to come buy a car because they couldn't give them away. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, I think it was like 2000-ish when that first 60 months that Ford came out with that 60 months 0%. Yeah. That's what happens. It's just these ebbs and the flows. So
yeah, right after that, you can see the market tanked.
You can see remnants of it now, just with some of these companies saying, "Hey, come buy something, and for the first 3 months, you don't have to pay interest at all."
Yeah, I mean, I saw. So Amazon was doing that, and apparently it was big during the holidays. But and to kind of circle back something. Apparently, the big thing today is to cancel your Amazon membership. Apparently, Amazon has been very anti-right-wing, anti-conservative, anti-2A, anti-1, First Amendment stuff. So, I mean, I've gotten probably no less than 25 or 30 texts from friends and acquaintances saying, man, I canceled my Amazon membership today. And I'm like, whoa. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I mean, I really try to stay away from the big news media outlets because just so much disinformation.
Right, I'm hoping that this all gets better. I mean, even with Biden, I don't think it's super smart to, if you're on an airplane, I don't think it's super smart to hope that the pilot dies in an airplane crash if you're on the airplane. So hopefully this turns around and...
well, but in that same sense, you don't want the pilot coming and kicking you off the plane because you got a Trump hat.
No, right. Absolutely. But I just hope it gets better, but I don't see too many signs that it's going to get better, and it really scares me, and I wanted to talk to you.
So I'll turn it around the other way. So are we not seeing signs because things are better because the media is trying to project a certain narrative to make...
absolutely.
No, so that brings us to... Do we now look at this, as a mechanism of control? Like, are they doing this? Are they setting up right wings and conservatives to say, "Hey, look, all of this is going on, so you need to, go buy all this stuff, go do all this stuff to see what we're going to do in order to give them a mechanism"? Was that a mechanism to say, "Oh, well, now you're going to do this, so now we have to
do that"?
That's
another thing I was worried about
so it's like
the Capitol building.
That's the problem. Is you can't trust any of the news. That's kind of my point of like, man, I have to when bad things like this happen, you kind of got to circle back to really small core related issues like, am I good? Is my family good? Do we have food? Do we have the things we need to make it whatever that period of time becomes? Do we have the things in place? Do we have a support network set up in order to where if I run out, then, I can go to Devin and go get, this, that, or the other. And if Devin runs short on medical stuff, he can come to my house and get, because we have to look at what is the overarching mechanism. And it's basically, we have to go back to a very communal style of living. And I'm not saying communism, very different conversation. I'm saying communal. I'm saying, we need to look out for each other in this community and make sure that we are all doing the best things we can for each other. And just basically be a good fucking person, man.
Right.
Just be a good human. And if today you wore a red shirt and I hate the color red, man, that doesn't mean that you and I are cross.
I always talk about this, and it's one of my first memories, and I wasn't an adult. Close, I guess, but after the World Trade Centers were attacked, man, this was it was obviously probably one of the worst times in the American experiment, other than maybe the Civil War. But it was great to be an American, man. Everybody was helping everybody. I remember my mom, who didn't have any money. We paid for somebody's groceries, some old lady's groceries. It was just a great time.
Paying it forward, man.
But now it seems like, I don't know if it is that way because I don't really experience it, but it seems like it's on the verge of,
Why aren't you paying it for me?
The worst. right.
But then the question becomes: is that because somebody projected a narrative?
And I think it is.
Yeah, I definitely think it is.
I just don't know how to get out of it.
Because see, my daughter, okay, my daughter is the biggest hippie, and she is, let me put it this way: she was up until recently very liberal. Because she listened to her friends, or she listened to this person or that person, and that was what she thought it was. She was like, "Oh,
and she got her first paycheck."
You're just saying no. She still hasn't done that, and she just turned 21. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But she has this picture of how she thinks things are because she listens to all of her hippie friends, and it wasn't until she actually started researching the stuff herself. She's big on, save the environment, save the turtles and all this kind of stuff, anti-plastic and everything. But she's, up until recently, the only reason she wanted Biden to get in office is so he'd pay off her student loans.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just curious, like, if you pay off the student loans, can you pay off my house loan too?
That's what I said. I was like, I told her, I said, who do you think pays for that? I said, it's not free. They're not giving you that money.
Well, and it's just the same thing. Look, I'm probably going to piss some people off, but whatever. It's not really my concern.
We piss all people off all the time.
So it's like the stimulus money. No, I mean like the stimulus money.
I think that was the biggest. I got money. I didn't need money. We had the best year.
I mean, I could use some money. I mean, look, I could always use money. Don't get me wrong, but my point is when they passed it, oh man, Trump wants to give us $2,000. I'm like, man, that's great. Whose money they giving me?
Exactly.
Where are they getting it from? Because we're like, what? I don't know, some astronomical number,
trillions in debt.
Yeah, some huge $1 trillion number in debt.
It's past 20 trillion now.
But what the point is, it's like we're in just this. So it's like saying, oh, well, I'm in credit card debt, but I have $1,000. Yeah, but you owe the credit card company like $100 million, so you got $1,000. Where do you think you're gonna get the money from? And so where does that money come from? That money comes from us. That money comes from your paycheck, my paycheck. So great, you gave me $600. What are you going to take in taxes when you rewrite the tax code to cover this debt that you just created for me? So no, I don't think the stimulus money was good.
No.
Personally, I don't. I mean, and I'm a big kind of like Darwinistic guy. Like I'm kind of the Darwin guy. That's my thing. Like, man, certain businesses fail, certain businesses don't. I mean, look, if you owned a gun store and couldn't get guns, then you go out of business. Sorry for you. But that's just the way it goes. I own a training company. I'm telling you right now, 2021, I am already projecting different mechanisms for revenue than our conventional mechanisms of revenue simply because I think the ammunition is going to, I think we've stabilized at a price point. I think we're pretty much at max what the market will pay. But it's what? conservatively
You wanna hear something
quadrupled.
crazy? I had to buy $25,000 worth of 50 cal ammo just to get a pallet of 9mm ammo at 3 times the price I was paying last year.
Well, it's just like I say. I mean, ammo on the low end is probably, I was going to say quadrupled, but we'll say tripled. I mean, because I'll openly tell anybody that.
So if anybody needs 50 cal ammo, come to Jefferson Guns.
Jefferson Guns got you covered.
$25,000 worth of 50 cal ammo.
And what was that? I mean, so like $3 a round. So
we paid $3.20 a round for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was close with the $3. I mean, that's just throwing mud against the wall. But I mean, like in January, February of 2020, I mean, I was still buying CCI Blazer brass for $139 a thousand.
Right.
You're lucky if you can find brass cased ammo right now. Not even be picky about it. I mean, you can still get steel case stuff, but if you can find brass case, you're probably paying what, 50, 60 cents a round.
Well, I mean, we got HSTs. It's $65 for a box of 50 of them.
Yeah, we paid the last case.
That's actually not bad.
This isn't bullshit. That's not bad. We paid for a case of ammo $850 grounded, shipped, for 1,000 rounds
Of what, self-defense?
of self-defense
That's-
ammo.
that's right.
So we
And-
make $4 a box. And
No, I mean,
people
but like
hate us
in
for
this
it.
market, that's actually not bad.
And people still come in and complain.
Yeah.
I was at a store the other day.
So
and
I'm terrified.
No, I mean, I look
at I'm fucking so
Yeah, but I mean,
scared
like,
of what's about
I mean,
to
I've got. I mean, the thing is, so let's just stick with the 60 cents a round for just ball 9mm, because I think that's what it's. I think that's what the big vendors are still selling it for,
Guess
right?
what? $39.95.
It's
$49.95.
a little. Yeah,
something like
let's
that.
say that. It's.
I mean, we'll just
probably
stick it at
where
60 cents just
ballpark.
because it's a conversational piece. But so it's what is 60 cents at $30 a box. Call it $40 a box. So you come to a training class that's 200 rounds. So now you're $200 into the cost of ammo, plus another $225 for the class. Now we're $425. Man, that's a lot of scratch for a lot of people to put together. You know, when it was $300, that's not too bad. But when you're at $450, you know,
Right.
man, that's a lot. And now guns. I mean, a Glock still 585-ish.
No, we're buying. So most of our. This is another scary part that's not going to get better. It's going to get a lot worse because we're 9 months in. So a lot of people that don't know, and I'm explaining it for just a second. For some strange reason, people think that we have the same inventory, can buy the same amount of guns at the same price, even after 10 months of this craziness. We're buying guns off a gun broker. We're buying guns from other FFL. Anybody that has guns, so I can pay my employees to have a job.
Right.
So we're paying above retail for guns anyway.
So
If we want to continue to buy guns and stock the shelves. Or I can wait for a distributor to get some, and they send me 2 or 3 a week.
So this is exactly the point. I had a conversation with a guy who was complaining about the price of guns and ammunition. And this was probably back September before the election. Man, I think it's outrageous that these gun companies and these gun vendors are doing this to people. I'm like, man, what? And he's like, well, they charged, and I'm just going to make a number up because it's just easier, $800 for a Glock. And I'm like, uh-huh. Okay. He's like, well, last year that same Glock was $585. I'm like, uh-huh. I'm like, and in 2000, a Ford F-250 cost $40,000. I said, that same Ford F-250 right now costs $75,000. I said, cool, you know, whatever. I said, but here's the other thing. They might have gotten pre-this 100 guns at a time. And they had a fixed set of expenses, right? Employees cost X, electricity cost Y, power cost this. You know, so you're operating on basically a fixed number of expenses. So if I only have 5 widgets to sell, I now have to sell my widgets for more than I did before because I've still got to cover those costs. So it's supply and demand. It's basic economics.
Right.
But not to these people. You know, they're willing to pay astronomical amounts of money because their new wife's purse says whatever it says, Fendi, Louis, Gucci, whatever the shit it says. But they're not even the remotest concerned in what their own life is worth because that's the conversation you have.
Yeah, what's the cheapest gun you got?
When you have a conversation about guns, I tell people all the time, like, we're literally having a conversation about what your life is worth.
Right.
You know, and am I the guy that tells you have to go buy the Glock, the STI 2011? No, you don't. I am a gun person. I like guns. I appreciate guns, so I own one. I am just as comfortable with my Smith & Wesson 66 6-shot revolver, and I think it's a very trustworthy gun. I would trust my life to it any day of the week. Glock 19 all day, every day. Sig Sauer. I mean, there's a bunch of options out there. But would I necessarily trust my life to a high point? Probably not. Jennings? No. Raven? No. I mean, you know.
Don't do that. I like you. Don't trust
Yeah, no,
you.
I'm just not doing that. You know, I mean, look.
I think you were there when that high point
blew up.
Exploded that
Yeah.
time. It blew the whole frame apart.
But, so that's what I
That
thought.
guy had a bunch
So
of
no
plastic in his hand.
Juarez pistols or
No,
whatever the name of it is.
I'm good on Juarez pistols. That sounds like something out of Mexico. I'm gonna go with a hard pass.
That's when they get a hubcap and melt it down to something that looks
Yeah.
like a squirt gun. and
Made in
sell
the
it for-
Philippines with the just different sheets of metal that they weld together.
I mean, look, we can get a zip gun too. I mean, you know,
So what do you think the worst thing to I know it's speculation, and you don't know, and I don't know, and I don't expect you to know, but the worst thing to happen in 2 years, what do you think is that would be? Like in 2 years, you wake up and you say, God damn, I can't believe this is where we are now.
I think the dollar is going to be devalued, and I think you're going to see interest rates probably at somewhere around 15 to 20%.
That's before China probably dumps the dollar.
Well, I mean,
And we're paying $100 for a loaf
Which
of
means the
bread.
housing market's going to suck.
Well, I mean, so like you got to think about so if you go to the what you're talking about if you dump the dollar, right? So then you go to Venezuela. Now you're talking about hyperinflation, Venezuela style, where you wake up in the morning, you got to run and buy your loaf of bread because you can only buy one loaf of bread a day, and it costs $85. And if you wait till the end of the day, it's $8,500 or something retarded. So,
Or was the AC kicked on?
Oh.
I turned it off.
sorry, I'm looking over there, and I thought somebody was
something
coming.
was humming.
That humming sound.
So I mean, that's my biggest, and like it's just like what he said. So if now I have less disposable income, then I have less money to spend at the gun store. I have less money to spend at restaurants. I have less money to spend at insert this. You know, when you break life down, we need food, water, and shelter, right? So you got to have a place to live. You got to have groceries. And you got to have water.
See, the part I'm terrified of is when a few people in the neighborhood don't, and it's been 5 days.
Well, that's what I tell everybody. It's like, look,
Like that
How-
movie Contagion.
What is it? 3 days to animal? Is that it?
I don't know about that. I know it's like you can go without water for 3 days. You can go without food for like 20 some odd days. No, go without water for like 7 days. 3 or 7. I don't know. I can't remember that.
I thought it was 3.
I'm just.
It might be 3. I mean,
So
and it's like food. It's like 25 days or something retarded.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, what do you do then? I don't know. You definitely don't live in the city.
Right.
You better go find some place where you're comfortable. It's not next door to somebody you don't know.
Do you think that's possible though? Coming up in the next.
Man, the problem is I don't think any of it's not possible.
This is why I love talking to people that know more than I do. I want to know what.
I mean, look, this is my standard answer. I'm sorry, I moved away from the microphone. This is my standard answer. This is what I tell people all the time. I do nothing different now than I did in 2019. And this is the reason. I have lived a self-sustaining lifestyle for probably most of my adult life. You know, and I should really clarify that. Post-Katrina, because Katrina taught the people who lived here a lot, right? And if it didn't, then you weren't fucking awake and weren't paying attention. You know, it's that, what's that, running internet joke, no one's coming, it's up to you. Like,
Right.
that shit's for real. So, like, we
Well,
live in...
they came. They came and knocked on the doors, took people's guns, did all kind of stuff.
That's in New Orleans. That doesn't count. That's a whole nother conversation. I mean, look, it's... Yeah, we'll just move on past that one. I was not a part of that. I have no knowledge of any of that. I did not... Nobody that worked with me or for me at that time did anything silly like that.
I think that was all National Guard.
I'm pretty sure it was NOPD.
Yeah,
Was it
I think
really?
I'm pretty
NOPD,
sure.
'cause
But I'm not positive. Don't hold me to that.
No, a lot of people come in and request receipts from like 2002 to get their gun back from
Back when y'all were in
that
David
was
Droff,
taken-
way back when.
Yeah, that was taken during Katrina. But
I mean, the bottom line is, if you don't have some extra food in your house, you're an idiot. And I'll say that openly. If you don't have batteries,
2 weeks.
Toilet paper.
okay, so this
That was-
is where I'm going to sound like a
was
complete
crazy.
barbarian. No, bro, because
You
as
got
long as I have
hose.
water, I'm good.
No, I know.
I mean,
that's why I freaked out when everybody went and scoured for toilet paper.
I mean,
I was like,
look,
what?
I mean, I would like to have some TP. Like TP's, like it's nice to have. It's a luxury, but I got a shower.
Right.
It works.
Well,
I told my daughter, she was like, what happens if we run out of toilet paper? I said, number one, we have plenty. But number two, I have a washing machine. Use rags. I don't care. We'll wash them.
Well, I mean, look, we're not having a conversation like the grid's not going down.
Right, exactly.
I mean, look, if you told me like this was an EMP threat, well, then we're going to have different conversations. But you plan for the threat you believe is realistic, right? And the realistic threat that we're sitting here talking about is civil unrest, right? Short-term, long-term civil unrest. Well, inflation, I mean, I don't think there's any planning for that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you can say go buy all the gold you want, but again, gold is a commodity that's only valuable because we say it has value.
Right.
If it loses its value because I don't want it, man, you can have gold bars stacked up, 30 feet high.
Not worth nothing.
I can't eat a gold bar. I can't drink a gold bar. I can't use a gold bar as a Band-Aid. It has no intrinsic value,
Right.
or at least to me. Maybe it does to some tech company somewhere who's way smarter than I am, but, I can't cook it. I can't eat it. I guess if you gave me enough of them, I could build a house out of it.
Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids.
Hey, I run out of canned food. I got 4 dogs.
Hey, eat the dogs. I hate my dog. I'll eat them.
No, I love my dog. I love all dogs. I like dogs better than like
keeps
people.
Trying to
I love my
nip at
dogs,
my-
but if it
my
comes
dog
to
keeps
me and them.
nipping at my dog.
I mean, look, you live in South Louisiana. If you can't find something to eat before the dog,
No, that's true. That's
did
true.
your dog ever?
I got a million squirrels in my backyard.
Did he ever dislike your daughter?
no,
Oh no! See.
no, my
I
dog
was gonna
worships
get
my
some
dog.
Yeah,
more.
his dog has a problem.
I almost.
Then
switched
it's
to-
real simple. The dog's got to go.
That's what I told my wife.
No, that's not even a negotiable conversation piece for
Well,
me.
she never. He hasn't bit her yet, but he's a problem. So he's gonna disappear one day probably.
So let me bounce this off of you. So today we were kicking around ideas for the company and things that we could help teach and
Do y'all have your own facility where you teach?
So we use MCTA out in Mississippi. We also use y'all's
Why
Harahan.
don't you get with me after this and I'll show you our new classrooms that we're.
I would love to use your new classrooms. Actually, I talked briefly to the boss about that one time a long time ago. And,
Well, they're just finished.
So yeah, I would love to do some stuff here locally, especially like
I don't prescribe to the famine thinking. I think there's enough.
No, I mean,
good people that I know in this industry to spread it around. We're full for 2 months for concealed carry classes.
I mean, look, I don't even want to, and look, like I said, we teach concealed carry, but that's kind of not really our thing. I mean, I do it because.
That's pretty much all we do.
Right. So like, I'm more interested in doing like, what do you do after that? Like, you got your concealed carry permit, so like now you actually want to know how to use that thing.
Which is where Phobos.
Well, no,
Solutions
exactly. And
comes
I mean, I would love to come teach some classes like at your range on like a Saturday morning before you open. Like, just give me an employee to open the door. I'll take care of the rest. And I mean, we obviously whatever the range fee is, we'll have the students cover the range fee and.
So many people need basic pistol
And I
training.
mean, I'm not even talking like duck rolls and ninja rolls and.
But I mean, I really
some of
want
the silly
people to
stuff.
do that. So if something happens, we have as much people
Absolutely.
responsibly armed.
Citizens. Because I tell people this all the time. I've been a cop for 20 years. I've been doing this for almost my entire.
Hold on, let me stop you. How are you doing that right now? It's so backwards, the way of thinking. Like, it's 9/11. Cops, first responders, EMTs were gods because y'all died for American people. Now, the media is so goddamn backwards that y'all are persecuted
the
for
devil.
nothing.
So look, I'll say like
How
this.
do you do that?
So the truth is this: I work for a very good boss, and my boss is very supportive of the things we do. But I can tell you, if I worked at another government entity regionally, I would probably have to strongly consider another career.
Right.
Look, the bottom line is.
I mean, that must be terrible. Not so much now, but previously that
Well, no, I mean,
nobody's
look,
coming
the bottom
to
line
help
is
you, and nobody's
the
having-
burden of the standards we're held to have not changed.
Right.
The standards law enforcement are held to are not changed. But the bottom line is, if you do the right thing, you should be okay. That's the bottom line. And I think that law enforcement is, but again, it goes back to what I said earlier. When you twist the narrative, you change the thing. I mean, the people who shot, what is his name, Jacob Blake? Everybody screamed and hollered about that, and then nobody even bothered. It got like 3 seconds on some news media outlet somewhere that, oh, those cops weren't charged, right? But for the 4 months leading up to it, every NFL team in the country put the name of this child rapist on their helmet.
Right.
And I mean, I still don't watch the NFL, and if you do, you're supporting something you claim you really don't support. I haven't turned the NFL on in my house.
I stopped watching them as soon as they started kneeling. Way back when.
Quarters all season.
I haven't watched.
It was on.
I haven't watched 30 seconds of. I haven't watched 2 seconds of it.
Well, I'm ex-military. As soon as they started kneeling for the flag.
No, I mean I'm kind of the same way. I mean I'm out.
I don't even understand how you equate the two. What the hell? I don't understand any of it.
It was just opportunistic, is what it was.
You're watching a football game. They're going to kneel and disrespect the country that pays them millions of dollars.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, so like,
it's just so.
Could you imagine, like, you walk in and tell Mike tomorrow, right? Look, Mike, I know we play the national anthem every day at like 8 a.m., right? But because you're my boss, I'm just letting you know that I can't do that. So I'm gonna go over in the corner and I'm gonna kneel and face away. You think you'd be employed?
No.
All right, so my point is well, that's their political right. Yeah, but you still work for me.
I work cheap, so no, I'm joking.
But no, I mean, like, my point is, like, everybody's like, well, you know, like, oh, well, they have the right. They do have the right. I also have the right. There's an employer that they're being paid right now. I mean, like, the pay's not work. If I did that at my place of employment, yeah, but you're on the clock. Sorry, can't help you.
Right.
You know, like, when you're at work and you're punched in and you're doing your thing, man, you're kind of subject to whatever the rules and regulations are of the place you work.
Right.
And we've forgotten that. And I mean, look, I don't care if, like, you want to go home and kneel, that's your prerogative. You want to go when you're not being paid, cool. Now, if your employer says it's okay, that's cool too. But you know what? It's equally as cool when I say, yep, I'm not tuning in. Kind of my whole thing about Facebook. Kind of circled all the way back around, almost an hour and a half later, and we're back to, hey, man, if you don't support Facebook, you don't support Twitter, you don't support, Instagram, take your account away.
I think the next big thing will be not even conservative. It doesn't have to be conservative, but just another platform that doesn't limit speech or do anything unless a judge forces you to.
Well, so I mean, I thought about that long and hard. Like, I think there has to be some community standards because we have some really sick, twisted people in this world, right?
Right.
I mean, the last thing I want is my daughter to be cruising on her Chromebook that she got from school and, I don't know, type in some silly stuff. And, next thing you know, I have Bob over here who's, talking about, I don't know, whatever Bob's talking about that's way out of the fringe. You need to have some guidelines, but what do those guidelines need to be? Like, like, we can't discuss porn. Okay, cool. I'm good with that. Like, on an open internet forum or an open thing, we shouldn't discuss porn.
I know you gotta get
No, it's okay. No big deal.
We're gonna get at it soon.
No sweat. That's just some silly text message. I get them on my watch, which is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. God damn, I love technology.
I love it and I hate it, right? It's kind of that fucking weird diametric thing. But no, so I mean, the bottom line is I think there needs to be some, I don't want to say censorship, but some parameters.
Right. Rules,
but,
parameters.
Man, if I want to discuss the greater, finer things of bourbon, then I should be able to sit around and discuss those things. If you want to talk about why the MP5 is the greatest subgun ever made, cool. That's your prerogative. Now, I mean, as long as you're not discussing things that are openly offensive to somebody else. But as quick as I say that,
Right now, the people that are restricting speech, and that just works out this way, are the people that you least want to restrict speech.
We least want. And again, that's what you gotta remember. There's another 7.
Well, no, I think even the people that want it, that comes back around, and they're part of the... Have you ever read the book? I'm reading 2 books. Well, I'm listening to an audiobook when I'm at work. Have you ever read Ordinary Men in the Gulag Archipelago? By Browning? No.
I don't think I've read it either.
Damn, it's good. It's about the Soviet Union, the gulags that were in prison. They took all of their productive farmers and pretty much imprisoned them in the gulags and then frozen them to death. And, present Russia, previously the Soviet Union, experienced like the worst death rate and communistic rule in the 20th century. Great book, but it shows how step by step you can take something and turn it into hell on earth. And that is what I feel Marxism, communism is slowly bleeding into the American culture and really going to put us in a spot that's almost unrecoverable. I see the beginning of Marxism in schools, universities, all of that stuff, and people don't even know about what happened in Maoist China and Soviet era Russia and
But I mean, even the Soviet Union has recovered from those things. I think, and again, I go back to, I think the greatest
after
threat.
a ton of people died.
But the greatest threat is the economy, man. I mean, I think the economy is the longest, because you can correct a lot of this if we correct the economy. I mean, how more beneficial would it be if you put 20 million Americans back to work?
Right.
You know, if you open the country back up. I mean,
they're talking about a 45-day shutdown at the end of next month. And I mean, this could be bullshit. It's on the internet, but
yeah, I mean,
do you think that'll happen?
I wouldn't be surprised. I
See,
mean, I heard somewhere along the.
That's so scary.
Well, I mean, like, could you? I mean, but and again,
have you had COVID yet?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I had it. Did you have it, Frank?
Did I have COVID? No.
No, I had it.
My
and it
daughter
wasn't
did.
Great,
My daughter
but
had
I mean, yeah. How'd she do?
Horrible for about 2 days.
Yeah, I was. So
I mean, the flu's really bad too for about 2 days.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Like, I
man,
equated it to that. Her symptoms, aside from the headache that she had, it was like she had the flu.
I mean, look, the flu's terrible, right? I mean, I get it. I mean, the flu's bad. All illness is bad. But again, I'll say this, and this is strictly a question, food for thought. Is it worth shutting the country down to save 5% of the population?
After a year of this,
It doesn't matter. I'm not even talking about after a year. Is it worth shutting the entire country down to save 5 or 10% of the people who probably wouldn't have lived 5 or 10 more years?
Well, shutting it down and destroying businesses, destroying the economy, destroying.
You know, the death rate from COVID is 4 or 5 years greater than the overall age of which people die in the United States. So, like, if the average death rate in the United States is like 84, the COVID death rate on average is like 89. I made up those numbers, but it's 5 years greater than the average death rate of people in the United States.
I mean, look, I say this: we're all going to die, right? Ain't nobody getting out of here alive.
Now, hopefully sooner than later.
It's kind of the bottom line, right? Nobody gets out of here alive. And look, I don't want anybody to die. I really don't. But I don't want to sacrifice my children, my grandchildren's economic future.
The country in general.
After 45
I mean, but that's what I say. When I
days-
mean about the country in general, my children, your children.
Right.
You know, because our generation.
I don't think
mean,
we'll recover after another shutdown. I honestly do not think.
No, you're already changing the entire structure of.
Well, I mean, think
even
about
the city.
Just think about how we as a city, this city, right, operates. We're already killing Mardi Gras for this year. Jazz Fest canceled. I mean, the amount of dollars that are lost, you know, and then the number of small businesses, mom and pop restaurants, you know, startup companies, small things that are going to lose their ability to sustain with another 45-day shutdown. And again, we go back to the bigger picture. Where does this money come from?
I went into a po' boy shop the other day to eat lunch, and they only had 3 tables. And 3 tables were full, and they said you couldn't eat there. I don't understand how they're even. I don't know. This is such a bad. It's like 4 things at once. We can do one thing.
We
at
went and
once.
ate breakfast the other morning, right, at this little small breakfast place, and they made this big deal about us having to sit all on one side of a booth because there were people on the other side.
6 feet.
Yeah, but then while we're sitting there, people came in and sat directly across from us, and we were like, "Well, wait a minute, what? Why is it this wall makes a difference behind us? What is? You know what I mean? It's crazy."
So let's have a conversation about airborne.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. If this dude sneezes 5 feet from me,
Let's talk about
it's
recycled
gonna
air.
get to me. You know.
Well, I mean, my favorite is you got to wear your
So scared
mask when
of
you
this.
walk into the restaurant, but when you sit at your table,
You can take it off.
You're immediately okay to take it off.
Well, you know, there's a meme going around that says, like, this is not okay, and it has like everybody in church, and it says, but this is, and there's a whole airliner full of people with masks on. and it says this is okay, but the church isn't okay.
But it's again, we go back to like.
I just don't think we've ever had so many things compounded at once.
No, I'm sure we have, but I'll say this.
I mean, the Great
Not in
Depression
my
was
lifetime.
terrible, right? So, do you think this is a?
This is one for the history books. Mm-hmm. And the problem is I think we're still writing it.
Yeah, I don't think 2021 is going to be a whole lot better.
I think
there's
it's
that meme,
lot
right?
worse.
You know, 2021 just turned 21 and started drinking. So,
You know, I saw one the other day that said, you know, that we're in December 42, December 42nd of 2020.
I saw one that said this is December 374 of this 2020.
Right.
Whatever, man. I mean, and I saw one today. It's like, look, my 2021 starts in February because January's already a wash. You know, it's like,
Right.
But the reality is we have to control the things we can control, right? We control our own behavior. We control our own habits. And we control the things that we individually do. That is all we can do. You know, we seek to make ourselves better every day. You know, just try to be a good human. I'm a big fan of like fitness and taking care of yourself. And, you know, look.
Are you?
Yeah, you know, your body's kind of your thing, right?
Me too.
These two giants sitting next to me.
I mean, but the bottom line is, so get up, you know, take care of yourself, do the right thing. You'll probably stand, you know, less effects if you get the Rona.
Right.
You know, be healthy, make good choices.
I just turned 50 2 days ago.
Congratulations. You made a half a century, dude.
Who does he look like, you think?
Joe Rogan?
No.
Oh.
No.
Everybody says look
one more.
Bruce Willis.
One more. Yeah, well, never mind. Bruce Willis.
Especially when I have a white shirt on.
Maybe we got a Beretta handy.
I think you look like Joe Rogan. Hey, I got Joe Rogan on our podcast.
I mean, if you got a Beretta handy and no shoes on, I'd probably give you.
Well, I've got, when I had a suit on before downtown, walking in front of the Federal Building, I got Mitch Landrieu.
I could see that.
Ridiculous.
You know, the horse and buggy, and they're like, oh, and there's Mitch Landrieu. And I was like,
if Mitch
no, I'm not. Don't even confuse me with him.
If Mitch Landrieu went to the gym more than once in his life, you know, maybe.
Maybe. All right, guys. I know you got to go.
Yeah.
Give them your website again.
It's Phobos, PHOBOS, solutions.com.
And do you have any other social media or anything?
Yeah, we've got Facebook, we got Instagram, we don't have Twitter. But if you want to reach us directly, you can email us at info@Phobos, PHOBOS, solutions.com, or you can call us at 504-655-1711.
Call them. They're very good guys. I've known Lou. Haven't seen him much lately. I'm glad he came in. I really wanted to talk to him after the last week that we've had. But super nice guy. He really knows his stuff. And maybe we'll have you here soon.
Love to.
I'd love to, too. I'd like to see
great.
you more. And Two Shots In Podcast, guys, brought to you by Jefferson Gun Outlet, Jefferson Indoor Range and the Shooters Club, jeffersongun.com, jeffersonindoorrange.com, and the Shooters Club, shootersclub.com, all outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. Where are you stationed?
We're out of New Orleans.
Out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Anybody in the area, we'd love to see you. We'll see you next week. If you hung out through this podcast, this is episode 3. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Devin Burgess.
Frank King.
Louis Frost.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Bullets dry. Keep practicing. Carry your gun.
Yep.